What do you see as emerging trends in relation to Me Too?
I think just many more matters being raised to us, and we've been quite surprised, and my colleagues in other organisations are saying the same. We are just finding that more and more issues are surfacing, and I think they've always been there.
Yeah.
It's really just that people are more confident in speaking up. I do have to say, though, Aaron, not all of the claims are able to be substantiated. So I think it's also really important to remember that our policies and our processes protect the innocent as well through this, because
Whoever the innocent are,
yes, absolutely. Not every claim, somebody raising a claim doesn't necessarily mean that the action was actually inappropriate. There's often two sides to a story.
Or the person being complained about is actually guilty as opposed to being innocent.
Absolutely. And so, your question around what does it mean for HR? Well, for us, the ability to really look at each case with a very unbiased perspective is absolutely key. And then there are times where we actually just need to get external help.
Are you finding that in the age of Me Too, that HR is almost becoming like an internal investigation office?
Yes, absolutely. And in our organisation, we're fortunate that we have a global team who can help us. But we are becoming an investigation office, and it's often we have to seek outside help because we know all of these colleagues. And although we do aim to go into everything with a very unbiased view, there are times where we do potentially need to excuse ourselves from a case because we've already formed a view of either the person who's making the complaint or the person that the allegation was against.
And you have knowledge about them as well,
absolutely,
more generally.
Absolutely. Okay, so a bit of a trend that we're starting to see relates to complaints around behaviours outside of work.
Yep.
Yeah, so I do my job during the day and I go out with my colleagues in the evening.
Yep.
Or, I'm perhaps a member of a WhatsApp group or a Facebook friend with my buddy, and I'm starting to see more complaints coming in around that. And there seems to be a school of thought that if it's a Facebook buddy or a WhatsApp group or we're out at the pub, then, all the rules are different. So what's your view on that?
Well, I don't think the rules are necessarily that different, but it depends on whether or not the issue is being raised in the workplace, because the relationships formed in the workplace, they're workplace buddies, for instance, and someone gets offended by something that's on a WhatsApp chat, for instance. I'm only using WhatsApp because I know about that. I know about Facebook, but I'm not an active user. But the issue becomes, because it's been brought back into the workplace, it becomes the employer's issue. So organisations then have to contend with this whole, I've got a complaint that I have to deal with. Now, the complaints happened outside of the workplace, but that doesn't prevent me from having to deal with it because I've got two colleagues who are having a dispute or a grievance or a complaint about something that was said, for example, on WhatsApp. So I think it does become ultimately an employer's probably more chore than responsibility. I think the employer would have to do something. Now, whether or not that's caution everyone involved, depending on what it is, or do a full-blown investigation would be subject to what's been said on, for example, WhatsApp.
Right, okay, no, that's helpful, and I think for us, as I said, a lot of our complaints that I'm hearing about in the HR circles as well are things that relate to conversations in pubs. People think that they're having a reasonable conversation and that they've got a great relationship, and then a complaint's being raised. So. And
it depends if the drinks are sponsored by work as well. So when you were saying that, I was going, well, are they going out afterwards because it's just an after-work drink thing? And I think if it's just after-work drinks thing and they're offended by it, they're going to be offended because the person... They're offended by the comment, but also a colleague said it, and that person has to work with the colleague.
Yes.
And they're raising it with you in the sense that, well, I have to work with this person and I need now my employer to step in and assist me with it because I'm offended by it. And I think a lot of employers struggle with that challenge, going, well, why am I responsible for what happens after work?
Yes, yeah.
But it's more so to do with maintaining a workplace harmony as opposed to sorting out a workplace grievance. And I think that there are distinctions and there are layers of it, and it's certainly a very grey area. There are shades of it throughout that whole outside of work conduct thing. If it's something that's been work-led, like a workplace Christmas party is always a perfect example, or if it's a conference, or if it's followed some type of workplace event, then there's more of a nexus there. But say Friday night drinks after work, everyone goes to the pub and someone makes an inappropriate remark. That is definitely within that shades of grey area that I was talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I think it is getting harder, isn't it, for organisations to actually work through these issues, because the boundaries are changing with social media and everything else as well now.
That's right. So thank you, Linsey, for speaking to us about Me Too. It'll be interesting to see what happens in the future in relation to the topic and what I've termed the age of Me Too. Thanks for listening.